Entrance, the radio show. Joining me now on what a segue that was. That's how you do it. If you're gonna do segues, you go for the jugular and you jump right on in there real quick and don't look back and try to find the pause button on the thing so it'll stop playing and all of those kind of things. Joining me on the show right now by way of Zoom, he is truly one of the nicest dudes you'll ever get a chance to meet. He is the Chicago historian when it comes to sports. He is an amazing, amazing dude with a lot of knowledge. And we've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to spend a fair amount of time talking to him. It's Jack Silverstein joining us here on News from the Service Entrance, the radio show. Jack, you can find him, by the way, at Read Jack on all platforms except for Instagram.
Except for Instagram. Yeah. Hi. How are you, Mario?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. How many syllables, Mario?
I was just about to ask. Did you get a chance to tell your dad about that?
I did. Yeah. I think I told him before I had made the connection and knew that it was you.
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, someone subscribes to my newsletter. I did tell him because I was like, do you have some secret email address, or does Uncle Eddie have a secret email address?
No.
I was like, who is this?
Oh, I remember the day I put that email address into motion, man. I was so proud of myself. When I saw that movie, I was like, that's it. It's either going to be a title of a poem or it's going to be the email address. Because I was looking, and I made it the email address.
I flipped out because that was my dad and his brothers. I don't know if it was their favorite movie, but it was one of their favorite movies. And because it's a movie so we're talking about Putney Swope.
Yes.
To anyone who doesn't know.
Right. Swope that's a great movie.
Swope! and it's a cult hit.
Robert Downey Sr.
Directed by Robert Downey Sr.
Yeah.
And it was one of my dad's favorite movies. So we watched it in high school. We were the only kids who had seen Putney Swope, at least in our friends. And so there's a scene where it's too much to go into, but there's a character who starts screaming, "How many syllables, Mario?" They're playing charades.
Yeah.
How many syllables, Mario? How many syllables, Mario? So Mario's email has how many syllables, Mario, in it. And when I saw that, I was like, who is this who's subscribing to my newsletter?
Who would know that?
Yeah, I was like, does my Uncle Eddie have like a new email address? It's like a joke gag, or like what's going on?
Just little old me, my man. Just little old me. I loved it. It's such a powerful movie. If you get a chance to check it out, Putney Swope, it's something. It's a lot, but it's a lot. It's worth checking out. There's so much to talk about. I want to start here, and then we can veer off into some of the other things. I want to start with the Chicago Bears, in particular. What happens now with their ownership now that Virginia McCaskey has made her transition? There's a stadium that may or may not ever get built on the Michael Reese site, which I think they should do it there, but they still own the Arlington Heights site. They just sent out a letter to their ticket holders that they're going up 10% on ticket prices, which all of them will pay. Season ticket holders are going to pay it. What should we be expecting moving forward now within the Chicago Bears in terms of ownership, possibly a team sale, and the stadium issue?
So on the ownership, I don't think we can say we're expecting anything. We don't know. The team has said consistently, and the first time I saw it really was 2013, but they've said that they have a succession plan in place that will keep the team controlled by the McCaskies, and we'll find out. The issue at hand is that there are so many McCaskies. The stock is spread pretty thin. That actually, if you just look at the stock breakdown that the Tribune published in 2013, which is the last time that it had been publicly published, the largest shareholder after Virginia McCaskey, they actually had the same amount of the team as Virginia McCaskey, was Pat Ryan and the late Andy McKenna. Meaning that once Virginia McCaskey passed away, her shares dispersing evenly among her 9 living children. And I don't know what happens if it goes to the heirs of the 2 children who had passed away. Meaning that it's possible that right now Pat Ryan has the most shares of the Bears. I don't know that to be true,
right?
But mathematically, it's possible, unless Virginia had always said, or the team had always said that her shares were going to split evenly. Well, if they didn't do that, she controlled 31% of the team, 19.7% that she had, 11.3% was in a block of stock that she controlled, and I don't know. But what I always look at is that the Bowlen family lost the Broncos after Pat Bowlen passed away in 2019 because they could not make it work with a lot fewer kids than 9. It's like 3 or 4.
Right.
I'm trying to find it right now.
Right.
But that family could not figure out how that was going to work, and they had to sell, and the Walton family bought the Broncos in 2022. So that took 3 years. That was when the NFL approved that sale. And we'll see. I mean, the McCaskies aren't going to sell the team just to do it. Or I guess when I say the McCaskies, you have to be more specific. George McCaskey is not going to want to sell the team. The question is, will all of his siblings? And right now, Pat Ryan, from all reporting, has right of first refusal. And Pat Ryan is he's got billions. I mean, he's an actual billionaire. I mean, the one thing with the McCaskies is they never really diversified.
And that's their business is the Bears. They don't have another business that they lean on. Their business is the Chicago Bears.
And they don't exactly. And they don't own their stadium. And so they just have a lot fewer options, economically speaking. So it doesn't seem like it would be that tricky for, 4 or 5 of the McCaskey siblings to want to cash out. And if they did that, Pat Ryan certainly would be in a better position to buy them out than George McCaskey would be.
Well, if that were to happen, if Pat Ryan, let me back up. If the McCaskey family, the heirs and the grandchildren of the children, or the children of the heirs, decided that they just wanted to cash out, let me get my money and let me go, and let Pat Ryan have this team. We were mentioning the stadium issue, or wanted to mention the stadium issue. Does that make it more or less likely that Pat Ryan says, I'll pay for a stadium in Chicago? Don't worry about trying to get funds from the governor, because as we just heard before we came to you, there is no money for Chicago for projects, and those projects were the Bear Stadium and other things that the city might want to do. Does that put Pat Ryan in the driver's seat for that stadium to be built in Chicago? Because he could literally buy the stadium himself.
Yeah, I would think so. But again, Pat Ryan's 87.
Yeah.
So, people are living longer, but Pat Ryan's 87. So I think that a lot of this is up in the air. I honestly can't speculate. There's been one really good piece of reporting on a little bit on possible Bears plans by Sportico. But it's been a surprisingly underreported topic. I mean, the last time we've seen a stock breakdown is 2013 for the Tribune. So I don't know. I mean, if Virginia really wanted to split everything up evenly, then that really puts George in a bind, it seems like. Because here's the other thing. The way that Virginia McCaskey was able to really control the team was that all of her children gave her voting rights. She voted for all of them. And that pushed her up to I don't remember what the number is, but 80%.
Right.
Well, yeah, it would be 80.3%. So that's how she got up there. Now, our siblings who granted their mother the rights when, they didn't really have a choice. That was how George Hallis, when he restructured in the early 1980s, that was how that decision was made, that, she was going to have the voting rights eventually for all of her children. But are they going to grant that to their brother? Are all of them going? I don't know. Does that become some level of infighting, and then Pat Ryan comes in, or some other billionaire is going to come in and, like you said, say, all right, I'm going to buy the team, I'm going to buy the stadium, boom, 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 done.
Let me also ask you, if Pat Ryan were to, as in the words of the great Mike Mulligan, shuffle out this mortal coil, who is the next person in line in terms of share power with the Bears?
I don't know how that even works.
Because
so
that's
Pat Ryan, so Pat Ryan and Andy McKenna bought into the team, and I've never seen an exact breakdown of who owns what of their 19.7%. I've just always seen that Pat Ryan owns the majority of the shares. Andy McKenna passed away a few years ago. This stock situation, I think it just raises a ton of questions. And again, like I say, the Broncos couldn't figure it out after Pat Bowlen passed away, and he didn't have 9 kids and a minority owner who owned as much of the team as he did.
Wild stuff at 1920. Kevin Warren, and it's fitting that we talk about Kevin Warren during Black History Month. Kevin Warren has shifted the direction of this football team and the franchise more than anything. By all accounts, he is very much the one who sold the idea to Ben Johnson that this was the place to be. He was hired, as far as I know and as far as I've been told, for one reason, and now it looks like he is the football person in Hallis Hall. And in some ways, it looks like he may have taken away a lot of Ryan Pohl's thunder in terms of being the GM. What do we know about Kevin Warren and what the direction of the Chicago Bears is going to be moving forward?
Well, I suspect that they figured that the team was in good hands. And so they hired Ryan Poles and basically hired Matt Eberflus with him in 2022. So when they hired Kevin Warren in 2023, it looked like, all right, well, we've got our quarterback situation, we've got our head coach, we've got our general manager. General manager is going to run the team. Everything is looking fine. Everything is looking up. And Kevin Warren is going to be able to, get the stadium deal done, which is what he did in Minnesota, and, take over from Ted Phillips, who always had his position as the numbers guy. And then that team broke down to such a degree that all of a sudden Kevin Warren, all right, well, you are the president. Like, you are the person who Ryan Poles reports to. Like, now we're in trouble, and now you are in charge of football. That's my read from the outside, is that Kevin Warren was really going to be here to do the stadium and probably wasn't going to have to evaluate the general manager and the head coach for a few years. But instead, he had to do it pretty immediately.
But isn't it kind of weird, though, that even though he was brought in for that they sat for 2 seasons with Matt Eberflus, well, 2 and a third seasons with Matt Eberflus, watching this fall apart, essentially, and it was Matt Eberflus who was here to pick up the mess that was left before him with Matt Nagy. Why wasn't, I don't want to be unfair to the guy, but why wasn't Kevin Warren, why didn't he go, wait a minute, this is messed up, and it may be messing me up in getting this stadium because it's kind of hard to convince people to spend money on a team that's horrible. What did he, when do you think that the light clicked on for him when he went, I have to change this or I'm never going to, I might as well leave, for lack of a better term?
I think when the team was falling apart last season. And I thought it was pretty obvious. I never liked the Matt Eberflus hiring, but I thought it was pretty obvious.
Or the rehiring.
Well, yeah, or the rehiring. And I thought it was pretty obvious after 2023 that we should have fired him. And it's a perfect time to reset because you have the number 1 pick. Ryan Poles did just such an incredible job of maneuvering and with the trade with Carolina and then ending up with the number 1 pick. So you're going quarterback. You're getting rid of Fields. You're going to get Caleb Williams and get rid of that head coach. All the things that got Eberflus fired, all those traits were already badly on display.
Yeah.
In 2023, that Broncos game week
Oh
4
my
in
God.
2023, right? Okay, so I thought that was pretty obvious, and for whatever reason, Ryan Poles didn't make the move, and Kevin Warren didn't force him to make the move. And maybe this was Kevin Warren feeling like, all right, I just got here. I'm not going to force my GM into firing his head coach. I'm going to leave that to him.
Right.
Maybe they all got kind of wound up with the Hard Knocks, good vibes, and all that. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
It became so apparent, obviously, that first Shane Waldron, he had to go, and then obviously Eberflus did, and both of those firings for the franchise were historic. We had never fired a head coach in the middle of the season, but we had never fired an offensive coordinator in the middle of the season. So that to me was those moves were the sign of, all right, this is big change. George signed off on it and Kevin Warren made it happen. And it's kind of a reshuffling of the power at Hallis Hall, because there's long been a problem at Hallis Hall of not being clear of who's in charge. And that's been an issue really for the duration of the McCaskey family ownership since 1983, since, Halloween of 83.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably what happened. Maybe it's just people who didn't want to step on each other's toes, or people who didn't want to believe that things were as bad as they were. Or maybe it's Ryan Poles thinking, ugh, if I fire my head coach, after just 2 years, is that an immediate indictment on me?
Yeah.
I mean, I look at it as the opposite. If you remember, Lovie Smith could never get the offensive coordinator spot down, but he fired his first offensive coordinator after a year.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did.
It was a good move.
Yeah,
right.
It turned out to be a great move. They ended up in a Super Bowl. But don't get me started on that either, because I'm still mad about the Super Bowl. I will ask you this as we veer out of the Bears conversation. In your opinion, how do you think this is all going to pan out now that they have a brand new coach with Ben Johnson and a pretty stout coaching staff with a lot of guys that are in it? They got some guys on this on that side of the lines. Do you think we're looking at? And I'm not even trying to get a prediction about wins or anything like that. But I will ask, do you think we may be on the verge of probably putting together a winning team so that we can watch on Sundays and not want to kick our TV or throw it out the window like a Frisbee, as I attempted to do several times last year?
I think so. I don't want to be a dope. Right. I'm 43. I've seen enough. And
word. Yes.
Right? But yeah, I think so. I mean, what's important to me, we don't know if Ben Johnson's going to work out. Yeah. Nobody knows. Nobody ever knows. And what does work out mean anyway? I mean, you want to win a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So Kyle Shanahan has been a huge success in San Francisco, with the exception of blowing multiple double-digit leads late in a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
He's done twice in San Francisco, and his offensive coordinator in Atlanta did that, obviously, 25 points.
Yeah, I remember it.
But Kyle Shanahan puts the 49ers in a position pretty regularly to compete for a championship. And that's ultimately what you want. And what excites me about this is that Ben Johnson was the number one guy. Whether he works out or not is that's for a future conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The point here, what's relevant to me, is that there was consensus around the league and with everybody that Ben Johnson is the top football offensive mind who's available as a head coach. The Bears got him.
Yes, they did.
That's what is relevant to me.
Yes,
the Bears went out and got the guy. And is he going to win a Super Bowl? Gosh, I hope so. I hope he wins 4 in the next 9 years.
That would be nice.
Kansas City that different than us. I mean, they're a second generation owner instead of a third generation owner. Mark Potash loves tweeting that the time span between when the Bears and Kansas City fired their head coaches on the same day, Lovie Smith in December 31st, 2012, and then the time span between when it took Kansas City to hire Andy Reid and when it took the Bears to hire Mark Trestman, and how much longer we took.
Wow.
And I mean, you look at Kansas City and it's like, all right, well, we could have hired Andy Reid. We could have drafted Pat Mahomes. Like, we could have done those things.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia, the Eagles, they've just won 2 Super Bowls since 2017 with 2 quarterbacks and 2 head coaches. Organizations. So I look at what the Bears have just done and I say, there was one guy out there and we got him. Nobody else got him.
Indeed.
And he wanted to be here. And as he told my colleague Bill Zimmerman on the Second City Gridiron, he said he wanted to be here, that Ben Johnson wanted to be here, and that Kevin Warren is the reason that happened. And he said Kevin Warren is leading what he called the new Bears.
I hope so, man.
I will take it.
I'll take it too, because Jack, I'm a little bit older than you. Some people would say a lot older. And I saw that Super Bowl in '85. I was a younger man then. I remember in 1986 the instruments freezing on the Lane Tech marching band's lips when Willie Gault was trying to tell people to push back from running up on the bus. I remember it vividly. I remember the whole woof, 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 all of it. That was such an amazing season, such an amazing time. I've never since, not even the 6 Bulls championships, and we're getting ready to talk about the Bulls, I've never seen ever have I seen anything like what the Bears did. And I believe the closest to it would be when the Cubs won the World Series, which I did not make a move to go downtown and hang out and see all of that nonsense. But that's the only other time I can remember the city being that everybody was like, yo, I cannot believe this happened. The Bulls, and I mentioned it after his passing, Bob Love, an amazing man, made his transition. I used to see him in Hyde Park all the time. Like, it was a regular dude in the neighborhood hanging out. And he's such a really nice guy. And it's a shame that he won't have an opportunity to see this team ever do anything. How badly has Mark Eversley and Arturas Karnisovas jacked this up?
Yeah.
And you're a number one Bulls fan in Chicago, so I'm really interested in hearing this.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about the Bulls anymore.
The Bulls,
it's exhausting. I don't know. I hope the kid is what he can be, and we'll see about a draft. And
I mean, if you're putting
it's a mess.
If you're putting your hopes on Modest Bucelis to be the man in 5 years, that's fine because he's, 20? That's cool in 5 years. But they couldn't get rid of Levine when they should have. They've drafted oddly, to say the least. I mean, you could see what getting Ayo was great. That was a great move because I think Ayo will be on a championship team one day. I hope it's in Chicago, but I think he will be a player on a championship team one day. He's a basketball lifer. He's going to be that dude.
He's like Drew Holiday.
Yes, exactly. I'm afraid they have gone out of their way to not pick smartly, kind of how the Bears ignored the offensive line, to not pick smartly in the draft, and AK seems to be chasing for another Jokic. Those things are unicorns, guys like him. What is the reason? Wait, even more importantly, how is Michael Reinsdorf watching this and not going, this is not what I was told was going to happen, and letting AK and Mark Eversley, who we never see anymore, do anything regarding this team? Why hasn't this been fixed in the front office of the Bulls yet?
I don't know. I honestly can't say. And it started well. It seemed like things were moving in the right direction. Obviously, the Vooch trade was exciting at the time. And I mean, um we all remember the embarrassment of, everybody shouting whatever it was when we hosted the All-Star game. And fans were all behind Zach and
Oh
screaming about
yeah,
how bad the Bulls were.
that's right.
And it was a mess. It was an embarrassment. And you know, a year later, right? A year and a half later, now we've got this team that, like, all right, this isn't necessarily a championship team, but it's a team that could compete at a high level. And that Lonzo injury really took the wind out of that. But then you're back to like the D Rose thing. Like, guys get hurt.
Yeah,
It,
man.
it can't just be like, well, someone got hurt 4 years ago, and I don't know. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know. It sucks.
Two quick things before I spring you, and thank you so much. Jack Silverstein has been joining us today. Before I cut you loose, two quick things. Will the Chicago Bears build in Chicago one day? And how does this new development on the West Side affect the legacy of Jerry Reinsdorf and his inability to do anything similar to that here on the South Side?
Ooh, that second question is a good one. All right, first question. Will the Bears build in Chicago? Yes, I think they will. I think that the allure of being in the city, of being the Bears in Chicago, will be too great. Now that gets thrown into question if there's new ownership, and maybe new ownership doesn't care about that. But I will say for right now, yes, Chicago. Oh man, yeah, you're absolutely right about that. With Jerry, I don't know to the degree. I don't know what I would say about how it affects his legacy, but I know how Southsiders feel about Jerry and feel that he's, maybe let them down. Um, my thing with Jerry is always tough because I'm always like, I don't know. I will always have an appreciation for Jerry Reinsdorf because he gave me 6 championship seasons with the
Absolutely,
Bulls.
yes.
And the 2005 White Sox are one of the greatest teams in Chicago history.
Yes.
Even though I was a Cubs fan, that was a Chicago team to the core.
Very much so.
So, but I understand always why fans who are younger than me don't care about that, and that's not the Jerry Reinsdorf they know. So I'm always split on Jerry Reinsdorf because to me, I'm always going to be appreciative of those 6 championships. And he did have his fingerprints on them because he did think about a specific type of team that he liked from the Red Holtzman Knicks days. And that was what he tried to put together. And that was why he brought in Jerry Krause and they liked Phil, et cetera. So I'm always split on that because I think I have much more fond feelings for Jerry Reinsdorf than younger fans do.
And I don't think the neighborhood needed it necessarily, but there were other areas on the South Side facing the or toward the lake that could have used a major boost in terms of redevelopment, and the White Sox could have been, and Jerry Reinsdorf could have been at the forefront of that. And I'm not trying to disparage my people on the West Side because I get it. I spent the whole summer over there at the DNC, and the West Side is awesome, and that new development is going to be awesome. I am, as always, I'm concerned about displacement and gentrification and things like that. But we will see. And I don't know. If you ask the average person in Bridgeport, the opinions about Jerry are strong, and none that I can repeat on the radio, unfortunately. And also had a conversation about how many White Sox games I'm going to. I'm literally 5 minutes away here at Lumpen, and I gotta go and see it, but I'm not really, I'm not jumping up and down. I think I'll bump into you at Wrigley Field more for a Cubs game probably because I'm interested to see who they play and how they put that together. We didn't talk about that at all, but very interesting things around the Cubs and their inability to catch that big fish. The biggest fish that may be available to them is Vlad Guerrero Jr., and man, I'm telling you, as a White Sox fan, I hope they get him because I would love to watch him play baseball in Chicago every day. That would be awesome because
That would be great.
Vlad's the truth, man. He's the truth.
I love it.
You can catch Jack at Reed Jack on X. Are you on Blue Sky?
I am.
Yes, and he's a shot on Elo at A Shot on Elo, one of the greatest moments in sports ever. On Instagram, Jack Silverstein, thank you, brother. I really appreciate you, man. I hope I get to talk to you again soon. And we got to hook up in person so we can really have the conversation with curse words and beer.
All right. That sounds great, Mario. Thanks for having me on.
Right on, man. Thank you, Jack. Jack
Alrighty.
Silverstein,
Take
everybody.
care.
Yes, sir. You too. Without a doubt, one of the dudes when you're talking about a sports historian, a guy that knows his stuff, and a really passionate fan. And when I said he's the number one Bulls fan, he literally is like the biggest Bulls fan in Chicago. Dude he loves them. I hate them, but I don't hate them. I just dislike them strongly. Thanks again, Jack. Really appreciate it, man.